Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil, and I'm back in the building, better known as, I should say, back in the baseball park. We are live here for the SWAC 2020-23 baseball tournament, the last event of this academic athletic year, 2022-2023. Shout out to all the graduates, recent graduates out there, both high school graduates that are planning to attend HBCUs and those HBCU graduates that have come across at this time. Let's see if we can give you a little sneak peek view of the FAMU as they're meeting at the mound, meeting of the mound, if you would. Currently, FAMU, for those that are watching this, know this, FAMU is up 5-3 over Alabama State. This is a 1 versus 3 matchup in the winner bracket with both teams winning yesterday. FAMU over Prairie View. Excuse me, Alabama State over Prairie View and FAMU over... FAMU beat Texas Southern. Texas Southern, that's right, because Texas Southern, I don't know. Texas, there's so many games and so many things going on. Texas Southern and Prairie View faced off in the loser bracket, and Prairie View won that. Before that, TSU had won 7 out of 5 games. They're including one that started the year in that Classic in Houston there when things got off. But Prairie View, I guess, winning at the right time, getting in the loser bracket, at least staying home. They weren't part of that 2 barbecue like Jackson State as well. Yeah. Speaking of Charles Bishop, who was out. But let me get into it. Welcome everybody correctly. Welcome to episode 394 inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that is covering the HBCU sports, the sporting HBCU diaspora, as we like to say. All things HBCU sports from institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Speaking of Mike Washington, he's still on assignment. I'm trying to figure out what he's at. Charles, I can actually vet him. He is truly on assignment. In fact, we can send a picture. He's on the field, and y'all probably have heard him throughout the weekend as he's been getting great interviews with the coaches, managers, if you would, from both sides, post-game reactions after big wins for teams. And so he's been on the clock ever since 9 o'clock Wednesday, probably a little bit before that, just, getting position and be here.
Baseball is real simple. It comes down to pitching, hitting the defense. You do 3 of the 3, you're going to win. You do 2 of the 3, you got a chance. You do none of the 3, and then there are no post-game interviews. So he really enjoys what he's doing with his 4-day in that program.
Big time. Charles has got to the big time. I guess I let him make it this time. So now I have 80 Drew, obviously talking about baseball, the cleanup hitter. Right, true indeed. Switch hitter, all the different terms you use, baseball is appropriate. We call him the professor here. He's in the building to help make sure we get it done. So filming from our live at the ballpark, not our home studios, but we're here. So we'll give you a little update. In fact, show them a little background in terms of the game before we get into it and look at some of this news of the day, because this is the appropriate HBCU sports news of the day. So we'll give you, as we do the intro, give you a little bit about the background and let you see what's going on here. 5-3 again with FAMU up on Alabama State in the winners bracket. They do have Alabama State has a man on first, 2 outs with the new batter coming up to the plate. With that being said, AD Drew, how you doing today?
My brother, doing fine. Glad to be in this place where the Black College Sports Network feels love around HBCU baseball, man. Just glad.
No doubt, probably said a lot of love. We've gotten a lot of baseball in.
Yeah.
Between the SIAC and the SWAC, man.
Yes. Once again, between our 2 southernmost conferences, just great to be loved and to not have to work a baseball event for real. This is not work what we're doing right here.
Right, that's correct.
This is fun. Bringing
you updates.
Yeah,
but literally, as you see people running back and forth, much like Charles Bishop, when you're in the action, it's a little different.
Yeah.
All the pressure's on, minute by minute, and it becomes long days. These days become long in a different way. But with that being said, what's on your mind in a little bit of the news of the week, HBCU world? What is drawing your attention right now?
Besides this tournament?
Yeah, you can start there.
I mean, we can start with this tournament. Yesterday, clean games on yesterday. All these teams played well. Most of the aces did their job. One of the games that stuck out is, don't look at the score of that FAMU Texas Southern game, Dr. Cavil. That was a 1-0 game after 6 innings. And FAMU got into Texas Southern's bullpen, and that was the difference in the game. And that's really kind of been the story of the tournament thus far. Who can get into whose bullpen? Because everybody has a Friday starter or a number one, as we like to call it. But it's those 2s and 3s and 4s, and who gives the extra out, and who's actually able to take advantage of the extra out. Because in this tournament, I've seen so many leadoff runners stranded on third base.
Right.
But in 6? This is a 7th game of the tournament, and if I haven't been here live, I've watched them on the SWAC Digital Network. Speaking of SWAC Digital Network, man, Roger Cador. Shout out to Roger Cador for, man, telling it like it TIZ, as they used to say back in the day. He's out.
He really calls it from a coaching perspective.
Yeah.
And a coach that is a Hall of Famer on multiple levels and multiple areas, obviously multiple SWAC championships. So the credentials in terms of him calling it like it is at a different level when you respect who he is from that perspective. So it's fascinating.
Just had a big strikeout by Florida A&M. Not to cut you off, Dr. Cavil, but big strikeout. FAMU leads 5-3 after 7 complete here. Upset in the making.
7 in the stretch. So this is the time it gets close. So at this point, I think you can start officially counting your outs of this would be the first major upset of the tournament.
Correct.
Obviously, we had a couple of 2 seeds that went down in terms of the first day. Oddly enough, both 2 seeds lost. And we had a close one, talking about those errors. And the third thing I was going to add to what you were saying that I always look at is 2 outs. Can you make the third out the closer inning? Or if you're on the other side and the fan of the team at the plate, can you get the 2-out hit, single that brings in an RBI or 2 RBIs? And we've seen that throughout the tournament about which teams could do that better, whether it was getting that final third out to move to the next inning or close out a game, or were you able to get it done at the bat to really close out the game from an offensive perspective? And so those are 2 things that I look at, which is the third, because I like the first 2 that you talked about in terms of what that looks like.
One other thing with 2 outs, and it's actually a factor in this game, FAMU is up 5-3, but they've had 2 runners thrown out at the plate with 2 outs.
Correct.
And that's like a baseball no-no. You never make the third out at the plate.
Correct. Absolutely. It's a great point in terms of what's going on in baseball. Getting a little back to some of the other things that's going on here as we will continue to give you some updates to see how this game plays out. Obviously, you have Teniya Morant, sister of NBA star Ja Morant, commits to play at this HBCU. As you know, Mississippi Valley State. You have XFL HBCU Showcase is back for year 2 on the HBCU game day. We have a guest coming in here to make sure that we're going to get a live interview. Successful coach that is fighting to get it done and bring a championship back to his institution. So we'll bring him in after this break, which will give you a little sneak peek as he's checking out to see the competition out there. What's going on there?
Hey, you know, Rattlers and Wildcats usually don't get this close to each other, but you can be professional here today.
Just for a few minutes, right?
Speaking about FAMU, LeBron James, FAMU sneaker collab is here. And here is how to get them from HBCUGameDay.com. Got the gift of being able to get some sneakers out to the people. So you can go check that out on HBCU Game Day. Michael Jordan assisted Morehouse with the first journalism graduate from HBCUGameDay.com in terms of what's going on there. So that's a little bit about your news of the day. Let's take our first break because I know what you all really want to get into. Y'all want to hear about this interview. So let's get into our first break and then we'll come back and we'll get into a great interview in terms of what's coming up next.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. As we bring you back before we get in the interview, we wanted to give you a little update here for those keeping up. Stay tuned with us. We'll make sure you keep up with this, or as they do it, you have 2 iPads, go ahead and put 1 iPad there, turn the volume down, turn up us so we can give you an update, because we're going to give you some thoughts on what's going on at the games here from Coach Hernandez, who has some own proud and big news of himself. You know, as a professor, you know, I get excited when I hear about folks' higher education. Welcome to the show, Coach. Let me do that first.
Thank you, Dr. Cavil. I appreciate everything you guys do and allowing me to spend some time with you guys here while we're enjoying a beautiful game here at the ballpark here at Georgia Tech, where you got 2 really good teams getting after it that we all know too much about.
Exactly. Yeah. And they come from that side of the division, yep. So you really know quite a bit about them. And I appreciate that. As you know, we cover baseball, and we're going to continue to make sure that baseball gets its time in the shine, and it fits well for us. It's in the spring. You know, we get through with basketball, men's and women's, coming out of that winter. Give a little bit of touch everybody wants to do, a little bit of spring football, but then we get into it. And with the only HBCU conference that still has baseball, as MEAC had 4 teams, and they play in the Northeastern Conference, familiar with some baseball in the MEAC before you transition over to the SWAC. You provided me with some information in terms of how your team was going, because I'm always surprised to say, but don't come in. There were little injuries, a couple of losses sit up there, and you said, hey, we'll be all right. Yeah. So talk a little bit how you had to kind of go through this season. It's 30 games. It's a lot of games in conference play, up and down.
Yeah, I mean, it started off good for us, and then we kind of hit the injury bug, you know, in April. But we faced a little adversity, you know, and that's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, like baseball. We have to be, yeah, it's baseball, but we're trying to teach these young men, you know, how to handle adversity in life as well. So we did deal with the injury bug, but at the same time, you know, it was a situation for our guys to kind of have that next man up mentality. You know, one goes down, somebody's got to come up and produce, you know, for us. So I think overall we had a pretty good year. You know, we ended the year with above 500 record, which is the first time since 2017. 20 conference wins in a very competitive East Division, as the fans can see with this game going on right now between Alabama State and FAMU. Yeah, you got AD getting a little excited. Tell me that's a warning track. Yeah, man. But no, it was good overall. You know, I think the experiences that we had, especially in April, you know, not a lot of people understand this, but we were 15, 16 games on the road in a row. But then, you know, you face all that adversity and you come up, you know, pretty good out of it. And it happened today against Jackson State. You know, that was a long game, you know, 12-11 barn burner.
And that was another game where you talk about adversity.
Absolutely.
You had to fight back. You went up, but then you went down. Yeah. Some of them were some big plays, great plays. Some of them were some costly errors, but your team kept fighting and literally fought to the end of the game to get the big plays at the end to allow you, as we say in this town, survive and
advance. And that's the resiliency of our group. You know, we had a couple of walk-off wins that we've had throughout the course of the year, but it seems like, you know, the East Division gets us ready for the SWAC conference tournament, in my opinion. You know, not to take nothing away from the West, but it's such a dogfight every time we play against Alabama State, FAMU, Jackson State, a much improved Mississippi Valley program, and Alabama A&M. So it's a dogfight every time we get together, and I think that those experiences lend themselves to, you know, us being able to survive in advance and to live in.
What do you attribute some of that? You know, I think the rivalries are natural in some of them, but then you have just some over the years that you played close games, mile biters, that you've added some rivalries pretty quickly with the transition of conference. Would that be true, or you see something else that attributes?
I think that that's true, but I also think that it speaks to the volumes of the recruiting of the student athletes with not only the coaches in the East, but in the West Division as well. You know, those guys do a phenomenal job. We know Southern, when it comes to tournament time, it's just something about Southern. You know, Grambling State, led by, you know, Coach Pierce, a really good, you know, really good guy, really good recruiter, development of talent. But you got Coach Riggins at Prairie View, you know, and you got Coach Robertson at Texas Southern, who's always going to get his guys, you know, ready to play when it comes down to it. But just overall, the conference as a whole, I think bringing FAMU and Bethune-Cookman into it has heightened the awareness of the national brand of baseball in the SWAC conference.
No doubt about it. You know, right after football, obviously, everybody kind of got excited about it, broke down the divisions. But the first thing I told everybody to look at was baseball. I knew baseball was coming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we understand, right? Football brings in the money, right? The revenue. But there's something to be said about baseball in the SWAC conference. It's got the opportunity to really put the conference on a national scale. You know, you see Alabama State, who has 40 wins, and they've been receiving top 25 votes.
Yep.
You know,
early in the year, y'all got?
Yeah, early in the year we did. Our Friday night starter.
Don't be shy about that.
Yeah. Our Friday night
starter. That's the first time in what? I know you talking about
2017.
Around the same time, right? Okay.
And our Friday night starter, Nolan Santos, is second in the country in Division I baseball with strikeouts. So you've got, you know, different players and different programs really putting on for the SWAC conference and represent it to the highest magnitude possible.
And doing it both from the pitch to the mound, from the plate in terms of hitting, catching and fielding, doing a lot of great things. Yeah, it's exciting. I will not miss the tournament. And what is been able to be a secondary joy for me, as you see here on the side of me, I get to bring my son. So last year was the first time I felt he was old enough for a road trip. And so this has kind of been his reward after he finishes the academic school year and does a great job. I hope he continues that part of it. This year it was double dose. He won a athletic under 8, under 9 championship in terms of their little division playoffs. I was kind of like, man, y'all doing playoffs 8, 9? But I'll take it. It's like that now. But okay, to the fun. But hey, they did win it, so we'll talk about that there. But speaking of academic accolades, tell us a little bit about the fact that you finished a master's. Where did you complete your master's at?
Yeah, so I just completed my master's at Bethune-Cookman University.
Wildcat.
So, Wildcat. But no, it took me back to during the pandemic. 2020 when the pandemic affected everyone, and we obviously opted out of athletics in the 2021 year. I just wanted to give my kids at home, something else to look forward to. Like, hey, I'm 30-some years old. Dad, right? Full-time job. If I can go get my master's, then anything is possible. But then how it lends itself to our program or our baseball program is our guys saw me in the trenches academically with them. So, as much as everyone, that plays baseball wants to get to the major leagues, anything can happen and you always have to have a plan B. And I think it's our job as mentors to, get our guys ready for the game of life. And I think by doing that, not only does it there you go, home run.
We'll let you finish that statement.
Yeah.
But that one was not warning track power, and we can officially say we are in the danger zone for Alabama State as we get, was that a 3-1 Ron RBI home run? I know at least 2, but I thought I seen one.
Yeah, it was
just 2. So the score goes to 8-3 as they push one on early in the inning. But with that excitement, 3 runs in this inning now, so you're correct, there's a 2 RBI bomb just left of center field. That's between the 382 and 390 mark, so long shot there. Before we get to ask you a little bit about some power in these 2 programs, especially for us that talk about the West Side and a little more familiar in terms of the players there, even though we talk about key matchups across both divisions, let me make sure you finish just how important it was, as you were saying, about your players and making that connection that they saw you in the trenches and the value that you put on academics of saying, hey, I'm going to go back and I'm continue to make sure we do, whether it's athletically or chasing and winning championships, but also doing it academically in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, they got to take care of their academics before they can get on the field. And, we've been very fortunate to come across some really good student athletes, here at Bethune, and we've had a team 3.0 team GPA since I've been at Bethune for the last, 5 years. But I just thought it was important where, our student athletes were able to, kind of see me in the trenches with them academically, especially with COVID, right? And then the extra year of eligibility that most of the guys have, like if they wanted to pursue a master's degree, why not continue to play baseball until they tell you, hey, you can't play anymore? But at the same time, acquire a degree that, is going to assist our players, because at the end of the day, our guys hopefully are going to be fathers and husbands, and, positive role models in their community. So anything that can heighten the, academic piece to their athletic experience, we're all for it, here at Bethune-Cookman.
I'm going to do you like they do with the two doctors and your professors. Let me know when you're ready to take on the doctorate. I know you got some coaching and some things that you want to do first.
Yeah.
But I got to at least put it out there. Continue.
I think my daughter would not like that, because she says she wants to be the first doctor in the
house. Okay. So you got to wait a while.
Yeah,
wait a while.
I got to give her a little bit.
Yeah, you got to take care of that. We'll talk about after you retire your career. Then we can look back. You still need some things to do. But on the serious note, this inning comes to an end, so it is 8-3, and going to the bottom of the 8th. So we'll see what this happens as we're in the stretch inning. 6 outs left. Can FAMU find a way to continue to be in the winners bracket and get this major upset in this matchup? Before we talk about these teams, let's talk a little bit about your teams. A little more in terms of some key players that were able getting things done during the season, and who may be doing just as much in the tournament or more in the tournament. Let's start defensively in terms of your pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, our pitching staff is anchored by Nolan Santos, who I talked about earlier. He threw yesterday. I thought he had a pretty good outing. Just, one bad play kind of turned that outing into a raid against Southern University. Daniel Gaviria, left-handed pitcher. And tomorrow we're going to give the ball to, sophomore right-handed arm, that we're looking for him to provide us some innings and just give us opportunities. And then the bullpen is anchored by Joan Gonzalez, who's done pretty good. He was the relief pitcher of the year, voted on by the coaches and SIDs and the SWAC. Dale Machad and freshman Pablo Torres. Those three guys have done a phenomenal job.
In the shine, it's really tough for a freshman.
Yep.
It's just a little something bigger when a freshman can not allow everything to be so big. So kudos.
Yeah, he's a good one. The lows don't get too low and the highs don't get too high. So the only way that he's going to get better is continuing. You just continue to run him out there and you give him the experience needed, and you hope that assists in his development as a pitcher moving forward.
What about in the field?
Highland Hall. I think he's leading our team in average. He was the newcomer of the year in the SWAC conference, as voted by the SIDs and coaches. He starts at right field for us. Garrett Chun, who's a junior college transfer from FSCJ, who's a participant at the Division II College World Series last year in the junior college program that he was at. Boris Pena has been a mainstay for us for the last couple of years. Robert Moya, I think all collectively, and Colton Olison, he's our heartbeat. He's the captain of the team, voted on by the players. And he just does everything right. 3-time Team USA national team alumni, played internationally, representing the red, white, and blue. So overall, it's just a really good group, and Irvin Escobar behind the plate with George Mercedes.
From the plate, what's really got you excited in terms of really not just in terms of more in terms of just batting for average and getting key RBI? We talked about this earlier. To me, one thing about the tournament, and you can answer this on the back end of that. What I've really noticed over the years, one of the things that I look at, was able to really close out on 2 outs. Yeah. Or vice versa, if you're the team trying to push through, who can get that 2-out RBI or 2 RBI? So at the plate, who has been able to do that either during the season or particularly in the tournament competition?
Yeah, that's a stat that we actually, keep track of.
I told y'all I was a bad man. Y'all won't listen to me one time.
No, but you know what? At the end of the day, collectively as a group, they've all done well. You look at a game like today where we put up 8 runs against Jackson State, and I want to say 4 of those 8 runs came with 2 outs. So it's a situation where collectively as a group, man, they've done a really good job all the way across the board. Offensively, and they just got to stick with it, and we got to do it all together. It's not going to take one guy. The guys understand that. No egos can be present during this time because it's about the team first, and that's the mentality that our guys have. And once again, we were able to come out on top today and survive and advance for tomorrow.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. So if you stay with us, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and finish up this interview and get a little more insight when we get a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about the tournament, about the teams, in particular who to watch out for and why, some key things, some scouting stuff that you can talk about. Exactly. So stick with us. We'll be right back after our second break.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Remember the revival? Relive the remix. Reunite for the Orange Blossom Classic. HBCU Reunion Experience. It's year 3, baby, and we back with that fire. Calling all HBCU fans. Labor Day weekend. I love Jackson State University takes on the venomous Florida A&M University. Tickets are on sale now. Watch the game in premium style seating or watch it from a luxury suite. And of course, you know the halftime show is going to be epic right here in the 305. The sonic boom of the South and the illustrious Marching 100. Who you rocking with? The 2023 Orange Blossom Classic. Don't miss the HBCU reunion experience. Labor Day weekend, Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. Trust me, we'll see you there. Oh. Check out orangeblossom.classic.com for tickets and info.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Going to get into a little more, and before we talk about the other teams, we're going to put you on the hot seat in terms of coach's corner. Let's call it that. And in all seriousness, just to give perspectives, because we hear a lot of stuff, and most of the time we hear it much more about the program, because that's what people watch, World Series, and those that are pretty big baseball fanatics, they'll catch some big games, Major League Baseball. And at the end of the game, at the pro level, a lot of times you'll see them load the bases. You might see it in college at times as well, even in high school. But also there's times when you as a coach know your players and you make a decision based on what you've seen that year from your players or, a couple of games preceding of what is best for your players at this time. So there was an opportunity potentially at the end of the game to load the bases, but you decided not to. Can you explain the tactician side of why you went in a different direction?
It wasn't us. We were actually on offense in the bottom of the ninth inning, and I think it was a first and third situation. Winning run was at third for us, and the infield was drawn in. So we went ahead and took second base as a free base because the only run that matters is the one at third.
Correct.
Anybody else doesn't matter. But I think again, I wasn't in those shoes. Pass ball, wild pitch ends the game. Base hit ends the game. Sac fly ends the game.
Because you started to put the pressure more on your pitcher.
Yeah. We put the pressure on them. So if you walk them intentionally to load the bases or to have the bases loaded at that point, I mean, you're putting that much more pressure on the pitcher.
We actually saw this last year between Alabama State and Southern in the game. And the opposite happened in terms of what you're doing. And you saw put the pressure on there, bang, bang, play.
Yep. And it could have been with one out. With one out, you play for the double play. But I think in that situation, again, it wasn't us on defense. I'm just what I'm thinking possibly could have happened is just there's no need to put extra pressure on the pitcher loading the bases when the only run that mattered was the run at third base.
Makes sense. Appreciate this sharing, and so we can at least get a perspective of why coaches look at things and stuff like that. Before we get into looking at some of the other things, what are some other technical aspects that you would like to share with young baseball players? What are some things that they play with? And you can either take this from young in terms of youth, or you can take it from high school, whichever direction you would like to go in regards to what are some things that they really need to consider or things they need to be working on that either they have heard or may not hear, but really coming from a college coach, they give them a different perspective of, okay, let me get down and get this.
Well, I think it starts with fundamentals, right? Learning how to catch, learning how to throw, hit. One thing, because I've worked in the youth space before, and the parents of youth baseball players need to understand that whatever they do today does not really necessarily mean they're going to be a big leaguer, right? When they're older. But I think too, in the youth baseball scope, because my son is 10 years old and he plays locally down in Daytona Beach, let them have fun. At the end of the day, they're not trying to fail, just like I know no baseball player is. Just enjoy the moment that you have as a dad or a mom and seeing the smile when they come off the field, whether, whatever happens. Take them out to ice cream. You want them to enjoy the game because the moment that they get that sour taste in their mouth, then the game doesn't become a game anymore, right? They're like, oh, I don't like baseball because my parents are doing X, Y, and Z. Just have it become an enjoyable experience for the youth of today so they can be on the field in the future representing the SWAC baseball program. That I think is something that I think the parents need to understand, is just let it be enjoyable in school.
Picking up right there, in terms of minorities playing baseball, I have a concern that I see players leaving away from baseball. And a lot more, particularly in middle school, particularly African Americans, blacks, you see that, leaving baseball in regards to, in middle school, to me, there's not really many programs, especially in urban cities. You don't see many middle school programs, right? So unless you're having good youth clinics in whatever area you are to allow them to continue to play, get better, and have fun at it, most important, as you said, you start to trickle them off, and a lot of times they're going to other sports because they still want to be active and playing. So now they move into football, they move into basketball. Up north and mid-America, you start to see them move into lacrosse.
Lacrosse, yeah. I think, too, a lot has
Speaking
to do,
of Florida.
Yeah, a lot has to do, I think, also with the scholarship structure within the NCAA. You know, in baseball, we're not a head count sport. It's equivalency, 11.7 scholarships spread across 27 student athletes. Where I get it, you know, tuition, fees, books, it's expensive. You know, where if you go to football and basketball, you can get a full scholarship and you take care of your academics playing that sport. I think, too, travel baseball is expensive. It's gotten expensive, you know, so you have to pick and choose of, okay, am I going to spend 2 or 3 months in the summer, right, playing all these tournaments and trying to get seen by college coaches, or I don't spend tens of thousands of dollars and I can go play basketball, football, perfect that craft at an open park where you don't need a field.
And the chances, if I can land a school scholarship, it's more likely to be a full scholarship.
Absolutely.
Or even a more of a partial scholarship is going to be more than what you get
more
in
than
baseball,
what you can get in baseball.
When you can only do 11.7.
Yeah, one thing with my experience with coaching, you know, college baseball is, I mean, there's no such thing as a free ride in college baseball. If someone says I got a free ride, I mean, that's a combination of academics, athletics, financial aid. You know, those are things that come into play when it comes to attending an institution and having an opportunity to play at the collegiate level baseball-wise. So, you know, again, it comes down to the financial aspect of it. Is it economically feasible, you know, for X, Y, and Z student to get that opportunity? Those decisions are within the realm of the parents themselves and the student athlete that they do have. So I can see why, you know, student athletes are shying away from baseball because of the resources and how expensive it is. You go to Dick's Sporting Goods, a bat is $300-400. A glove is another $100. I mean, you're spending almost close to $1,000 before you even step foot on a field that you have to rent at a local park.
Right.
So the financial piece to it is huge, no doubt.
Great point. Well, we closed out the 8th inning, and you have a 9-4 score. You did get Alabama State able to put one across the board, but FAMU was able to kind of limit the damage there, so they're still leading in this matchup 8-4. Going into the top of the 9th should be interesting to close it here. So since we're into this game, talk a little bit about more in depth, if you would, in terms of the Eastern Division, particularly with, let's start with FAMU. What do they bring to the table? We already know that matchup when they go head-to-head coming to the campus is already special in terms of when they get it on and get it together, really in any sport. But baseball really excites me when I see those matchups. But talk a little bit about FAMU.
They're a good team. You know, fundamentally they're sound. Offensively, I know that they're capable of pulling up runs like how they are today against a really good pitching staff at Alabama State. One of their arms, Hunter Feets, he started the first game of the tournament. He's really good, should be a pro prospect, you know, at the end of the year. Catching-wise, they have a really good catcher in Ty Hanchey up the middle. You know, Niles does a really good job for them. But just overall, really good, you know, solid team. You know, Jamie Shoup does a very good job with his program. And we've been facing, you know, FAMU since I've been at Bethune for the last 2 or 3 years because of the pandemic and opting out of 21. And it's always a competitive scene, you know, when we're playing the Wildcats, like I mentioned earlier, while I have AD Drew looking over my shoulder.
So I've seen the Prairie View, Texas Southern matchup, the Southern Grambling matchup, Jackson State, Alcorn State. Echoes. Paint a little picture when FAMU comes down to Daytona for that matchup? What is the scene in terms of the fans? What are they on the fence? What does it look like? Yeah, how's it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can tell you that I'm just glad I'm inside the field. You know? I'll tell you that much. I'm glad I'm in the dugout. I don't have to be out there for that. No, but you know, it's a really good rivalry. You know, we obviously have respect amongst each other. Yeah, you know, as you know, professionals, leading young men, doing what we need to do. But it's competitive. I want to say we took 2 out of 3 at home when they came down, and I think they won Friday night on a 2-run home run in the 8th inning by Joseph Perini, dead center. And then we took care of business Saturday, Sunday, and even when we went down to Tallahassee, you know, for that series, we took 2 out of 3 as well. But it's always competitive. Anything can happen. Like, you can't just walk into it, say, all right, I got this in the bag. I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet. I mean, that Sunday game in Tallahassee a couple of weeks ago, we were down 3-1 in the 9th, and we came back and, you know, tied it, and then we eventually got walked off. But that just speaks to the competitiveness between both programs when they play against each other.
Give me a little report on Alabama State.
Pitching heavy. I think that everyone in the SWAC conference knows that they can pitch. They can obviously hit. You know, Coach Vasquez is the coach of the year in the SWAC for a reason. You know, with 40 wins under his belt for this season, you know, they're just a really solid team. They can play with the best of them, and that's something you want, right? When you have, you know, a team like that with 40 wins to play the game the right way, and they do so. They can hit, they can defend, and they can definitely pitch. So, just like.
What makes beating down the play at first, as you were alluding to, in terms of just how fast and speedy you are playing at that level of baseball? Talk about Jackson State in terms of you had a big game with them, just in general in terms of the competition between your Omar Johnson, always a tough character in terms of what he brings to the table in his team.
Yeah,
a little bit about them.
Absolutely. You know, Jackson State. You know, we've played them for 2 years, and you know, since we joined the SWAC.
Right.
And it's a team that's going to want to create chaos on the bases. You know, they're going to do what they need to do to put themselves in a position to be successful. And I think this year, prior to the game today, we had split the season series, you know, with Jackson State. So again, man, we have the utmost respect for Coach Johnson, what he's been able to do, you know, the longevity of his career at one spot, and that's kind of unheard of now at the Division I side with baseball. But he's done a fantastic job, and yes, they're the 4 seed, but that just speaks to the volume of the competitiveness of the conference in the Eastern Division with Alabama State, FAMU, Jackson State, and ourselves here.
Last question is, we'll let you go here and get into this last break, and then we'll give you with that. I wanted to ask you just some of your thought process, and I know you don't alone make this, and it has to go between the coaches, and then it goes up, obviously, the ADs, and finally the presidents have to prove everything. But so far, what are your general thoughts in regards to the divisional alignment? Would you like to see some crossover? And even if you do, is it not realistic just because of the travel and where we are in terms of maybe finances come in a different way? What are your thoughts about that?
I can tell you that this is my opinion.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
I think
that's why I set it up.
I think
you
that
were the coaches, and then you got a lot of people above you.
Absolutely. You know, I would love to play everybody in the SWAC, to be honest with you, because not only do you see different baseball played across, you know, the SWAC conference, but you also are able to take your kids to different pockets of the conference so they can see, you know, everybody else and experience that. Like, I don't know, in our group, who's gone to Texas, who's gone to Louisiana, who's done that. So you provide them with the student-athlete experience if you do that. And I think that if there is a way to do it, my suggestion would be everybody on the East and everybody on the West plays each other one time. And then you miss one West or one East team cross-divisional. Yeah, so we'll play 5 out of the 6 teams in the West Division with our 5 Eastern you know, division opponents. But again, that's something that, you know, if we bring to the table, there's a voting structure to it. But I can tell you, for me, I think we do that, and we can crown ourselves a regular season champion, and then we seed the tournament 1 through 8 or however we do it to get to so you have a regular season champion, and then you have the SWAC conference champion.
I like that. I'll say this, Coach. that master's degree is coming in order really quickly on both sides. I guess you acknowledge it's just not me, but the fact that you put in there, because there's some presidents and chancellors that will like to hear that part of it, that you're sharing experience with your students.
Absolutely.
Because most of our presidents and even our ADs and VPs are very student-centered. So I like the fact that you were able to put that perspective of why it's important, not just so some people say that everybody want to play everybody. You know, there's a part of that, but what it brings to the student. So I did want to share that. Again, that master's degree is working. I see.
Yeah, it only enhances the student-athlete experience all the way across, and that's what we want for our guys and our student-athletes, is just to provide them with the best possible athletic experience along with the academic experience, and have them represent their institution to the highest magnitude.
We see Alabama State. It's just hard to get those outs there. Go to the wall. Did get the out, but the runner moves to third, so it is one out now. And the bottom of the 9 is getting interesting. A couple of runs difference here. So last thing, I promised this time. Anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you?
No, I think that if any of your viewers are here in Atlanta, come out and support, you know, the SWAC baseball tournament. You know, at the end of the day, you are supporting the SWAC, but most importantly, you know, you're supporting the student athletes who represent our beloved institutions, you know, this week. So, you know, if you will go ahead and come out and see SWAC baseball, the same support we give football and basketball and all these sports, you know, baseball deserves the same, you know, support all the way through. So if you are in Atlanta, come by. If not, catch it on the SWAC Digital Network on YouTube to head up the viewership. And, you know, thanks again for everything that you guys do in the lab. I appreciate it. And anything you need, I'm phone call away.
I see it, and I know it. I know that's true. He's not just saying that. With that, Coach, I want to say, again, congratulations seriously on the academic achievement, the Masters. Congratulations on a great season, and I know you're going to do everything this tournament to try to finish off with a little more magic touch, and I wish you well during this run. We'll be here to watch it, that's for sure, and tell the story.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yep.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this last break and give you our last 15-minute segment. I got a surprise for you. We got Mr. Deuce wants to give a little update, his thoughts in terms of commentary on the tournament thus far. So we'll make sure he gets a little bit, and then obviously A.D. Drew wants to get his acknowledgement in. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this last break.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and Instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. This is none other than Deuce Cavil. He won a championship with his team this year. So we're going to give him a chance to talk a little bit about that and make sure he gives you his updates on this tournament like he did last year and give you some updates there. Before we do that, Drew, what are your thoughts? Can FAMU find a way to close it out and get it done? 2 outs away?
Yeah, but it's been even these last 3 outs for like the last 15 minutes. I mean, it was 8-3, then 8-4, now it's 8-5 with a runner on first base. So you gotta close it out. And the thing is, in terms like this, you want to try to close it out without going back to the pen.
I like that.
Because every arm that you use, you've only got so many pitches in these arms for the weekend. So you want to go through, even though you hope that if you do come with somebody out the pen, they can get it done and go ahead and close it out. But you would think that by this time of the year.
So let's go back and what has been your thoughts a little more on the tournament this far of some of the big matchups and just in general? I know you talked about a little bit of the outs and things of that nature, but just in general in terms of the facility and being in Atlanta, how you like that part of it thus far?
Well, let's start off with the basics. We in Atlanta. Everybody, parking sucks in Atlanta. We just got to get that just got to get that out the way. But actually, there's a parking garage right across the street from the stadium. Plenty of space within that garage. Probably, obviously, school is out, so that lends to more space there. There's another garage about a block away from here, so that actually winds up being one of the positives here. If you've never been here, which this is my first time in this facility, it's a nice, tight, compact facility. In left field, they have a little pavilion that overlooks the field where the concession stand is at. And
I like that little touch they put on here, especially like you said, to be so intimate.
Yeah.
To be able to squeeze that in there, it's a nice little way to add an additional money-making component of it.
Unlike a lot of our parks where the concession stand is behind the grandstand, where the bathroom, the concession stand, and the grandstand are all in one building and they're underneath. So a lot of times you miss part of the game while you go and get yourself a hot dog. So I do like that. A college facility with suites, Dr. Cavil. Yeah. And they've got nice suites. You can tell this was built for streaming, broadcasting, obviously Georgia Tech part of the ACC network.
ACC network.
And the camera angles, if you have been watching this on the SWAC digital network, the reason you're able to get those type of camera angles is because this park was built with that in mind or modified with those in mind. So the cameras, the reason you're getting good camera angles and getting good replays because they've got the platforms built for the cameras in all the right places instead of, a lot of times we're in older parks that we've had to retrofit and haven't quite we didn't retrofit them with the thought of streaming. So that's
important. Let's set this up, set the stage. FAMU, head coaches and all the players are at the mound. Last guy walk, so you literally have the time run at the plate, being on first and second with 1 out. So it's interesting how this is setting up one way or the other in regards to the beautiful close of this game. Let me ask and tease a little bit before I go to Deuce. Before you close out on this, what do you think about this next matchup with Southern and Grambling? This is a class report for the East, which was fascinating to me because everybody's talking about how strong the East was over the West. And might be the case. Pitching, you've kind of seen it lean that way. Certainly in statistics you say that, but on the first day, we kind of called it. We're close to a game off, both in different ways, but the first day was 2-2 split from the West.
Yeah, it was.
And enough on today, you had basically divisional matchups with everybody playing and a couple of more rivalry games, which will be what we started off with Texas Southern Prairie View and what we're going to end off with Grambling and Southern. The other one were East matchups with Jackson State. Bethune-Cookman, as you just heard, Coach Hernandez being able to pull that one out.
And quietly, in baseball, this FAMU Alabama State is becoming.
I'm just going to say, it's truly a rivalry in terms of these teams have kind of squeezed themselves in terms of finishing at the top 1 and 2 the last 2 years. And how they played out in the tournament was big last year. Obviously, Bethune-Cookman is entering back in that mix. But you're absolutely right. I would say this is the top matchup in terms of just how the teams finish, in terms of rivalry, if you would, in terms of East. So, but what do you think about Grambling and Southern tonight?
Grambling and Southern should be interesting. The thing about Southern is they have above average pitching. I wouldn't say it's spectacular pitching, but they find a way to put the ball in play. If you put the ball in play in this game, you've got a chance. So that's what it is, and I'm sorry, until that 27th out occurs against the Southern Jaguars, you cannot relax.
Well, Alabama State has a big one at the back, 6'2", 195.
Hey, Ty Hunt is at the plate.
Has had a big game and big bats this not only this baseball tournament, literally all year, but in terms of this team. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Let me get Deuce on here. He's been patient. I'm going to get him in here. You can stay up there. Yep, you stay right there. So what do you thought about the SWAC tournament this year thus far?
I think Grambling versus Southern, I think Southern might win the game.
Okay, that makes sense. Who do you think is going to win this one, FAMU and Alabama State?
Oh, it's going to be FAMU. It's going to take them some time.
That's a good point. So talk about the fact that you won a championship there in your Missouri City League. How did that feel to win a championship?
Oh, good. It was 8-5, like the score here now. But it's my third championship in a row, but it's my fourth championship.
Oh, good. So you've been winning multiple championships since you've been playing baseball.
Yeah, I didn't even know we made it to the playoff at first.
Well, it's one out, bases loaded, a single. By the batter now, Corey King is coming up. So it'll be fascinating to kind of see with this. So we'll see if we can stick around a little bit. We're coming up to our time. But we'll see maybe if we can get through this bat and kind of see how this plays off as we get into it. So we're going to ball one. We'll call it out as you can see it in this one. We'll just walk right through it in terms of what that looks like. Anything that you'd like to see in terms of how they're playing it. It looks like they're playing it regular, one out. We talked about this earlier in terms of bases loaded, being up 3 runs.
The end at the corners, back and short and second for the double play.
Yeah. We'll come back. Sure.
Yeah, if you take a look at it right now, Doc, you're in at the corners. Actually, only in at third. You're back playing for the double play is short, second, and first.
Right? Only one in the count there. So 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. And we'll see if we can at least get this batter in, and then we'll call it a game, and we'll make sure you get it on the other side so you can see it yourself and tune in to the SWAC Digital Network. Fascinating what's going on here in terms of what goes on here.
Just miss.
Ball is low. Close one there in terms of that 3-1. So this is the playoff pitch in terms of does this get a little more interesting or can we get things going?
G-Bone said the Sirius must be slightly behind us, so don't spoil it. Look away, G-Bone. Look away.
Sorry about that. I'm glad you put that out there in terms of what this looks like. So we're not going to tell you what just happened in terms of what happened here in terms of this play as you watch it. Playoff pitch ball was hit deep to right. We won't tell you whether it was going in there, but you can see a little bit about there. But last thing before we close this out, 8-6, so a little closer, but it's now 2 outs. Runners on the corners. sacrifice fly there to make the game a little closer.
Time runners at first. Winning run
is at the plate. Wow, that's big time. With that being said, this is Dr. Cavil with Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from Inside the Lab and the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington and Charles Bishop both are on assignment. Charles is right here playing, calling, and getting great interviews. And in terms of you see him at the plate, doing his magic on the field, giving us the new side of Charles in terms of things that continue to go. With that being said, again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be here till Sunday, so we'll be able to make sure next week we'll give you all the latest and greatest. Make sure you tune in Sunday for
special edition of SportsWrap.
Special edition of SportsWrap.
Coming live from the ballpark.
We'll come live from the ballpark as they will do a pregame and postgame in terms of what that looks like. We're also looking to come back and check it out. We'll try to do a show tomorrow. Stay in tune for that. It should be the same time if we're able to get it done.
Right.
We'll try to give you an update in terms of what that looks like. And
we'll have an IF broadcast on Saturday.
Just like they have an IF game, we might have the IF broadcast. If they're here, then maybe we're here in terms of what's going on there. With that being said, follow me at Dr. Kenyatta Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Make sure you continue to watch ONG Strike Zone. Continue to watch College Brown on Saturday, giving you all inside the lab, inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Twitter. That's inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. 2 outs as we are trying to get out of it and give you a close up. We'll see if we can hold it on maybe one more pitch.
That was the slowest close out you ever read, Dr. Cavil. I just want you to know that.
Dream big. Continue to move forward. And it's a single.
The game continues.
Oh, it's going deep. He's not going to be able to score on it, though.
Oh, he's coming to the plate.
And he got in. What happened to the relay?
That
He got in.
Game is tied.
It's tied.
He fumbled the relay, you all. He fumbled the relay.
Oh, that was a big single. I didn't think he was going to be able to score on that.
So now,
at first I did because it went into the corner, but he got the relay out of the corner so quick. But as you said, the second relay was not able to get it in terms of.
So now the game-winning run is at second base with 2 outs. Hey, switch over to the SWAC digital web. Santoria Black, Coach Roger Kador.
Course. Say lecture.
Dismissed.
Also going to get spicy.